I completed my internship at Meta this summer, and I will be returning to Meta full time next year. It is an essential life skill to have.
Hi guys, so আজকে আমাদের সাথে আরহাম আছে। আরহাম হচ্ছে এখন মিশিগান স্টেট ইউনিভার্সিটিতে সিনিয়র ইয়ারে কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স এন্ড ম্যাথমেটিক্স নিয়ে পড়াশোনা করছে। ও লাস্ট পাস সামারে ও হচ্ছে মেটাতে সফটওয়্যার ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং ইন্টার্ন ছিল। সো আজকে আমি ওর যাত্রাটা সম্পর্কে আমরা জানতে পারবো, কিভাবে করে ও আমেরিকাতে আসলো, কিভাবে করে মেটাতে চাকরি পেলো, things along those lines. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Arham. So Arham, তুমি যদি তোমার সম্পর্কে একটু ইন্ট্রোডিউশন দিতে।
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Arham, and super thankful for Audit for inviting me here. I've known Audit for a couple of years now, and he has mentored me before even getting to the US. So again, I'm super grateful to be here. Yeah, a couple of things about me. I go to school here at Michigan State. I'm doing computer science and math, and I completed my internship at Meta this summer, and I will be returning to Meta full time next year. Yeah, so this session is just about my journey, and I'll try to guide you guys and give you guys as many advice and as many insights as possible about this.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Arham. So তোমার একটু যাত্রাটা যদি আমাদেরকে বলতা, লাইক ফর এক্সাম্পল তুমি বাংলাদেশে ছিলা, বাংলাদেশে পরে এখানে আসছো, এখন কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স এন্ড ম্যাথ পড়ছো। সো তোমার যাত্রাটা কিরকম ছিল আমেরিকাতে সাথে? তুমি কি স্কলারশিপে এসেছো নাকি? আর তুমি ম্যাথস এন্ড কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স কেন চুজ করলা? Why not a different major?
Okay, that's a lot of questions, but I'll start off from the beginning. So I went to school in Glasgow for practically all of my before college life. Completed my O-levels and A-levels there. And then my dad really wanted me to study in Bangladesh to complete my undergrad. But I really thought it would be a good idea for me to pursue my education abroad, and I pushed really hard for it. And unfortunately, right during the time I was applying for college, COVID happened. And between the years of 2020 to 2021, I took a gap year, focused more on some extracurriculars, some more education, and then applied to college in the following year, 2021. I applied to a lot of colleges. I think it was like over like 20, 25 colleges. And luckily for me, I got accepted into a lot of them. Scholarship was a big factor for me. And Michigan State came in as the best offer overall, including the scholarships. I applied to a lot of countries. I applied to the United States, to Canada, and to Singapore. And for me, this was the best offer I had, and I'm super grateful to be here. So that was my from high school to college journey. I chose computer science because I think in 2016 or 2017, I watched a Joe Mutek video where he shares his day to life as a Facebook engineer. And that really inspired me. And for the next couple of years, I was super into software engineering, watching more and more of these videos, more and more of these content, and eventually was distracted to it.
Nice.
Right from the start, I just loved computer science.
Nice. So a couple of questions. So did you take the SAT subject test and SAT test? And why did you pick maths? Like you were saying you picked computer science, but why was the maths included?
Okay. First question, I did not have to take the SAT. I wanted to, but I later thought it would not be a great idea. My year specifically, they waived the requirement for the SATs because of COVID. I didn't really have to take it. I really wish I did, and a lot of my friends did. So it's probably always better to take it. I did have to take the IELTS, the English language testing system, and I did pretty well on that. So there's that. That's the testing part. Math, because I really loved math in high school, and I thought it would be a continuation of that. I took a couple of calc classes in college, and I thought, that sounds fun. It's not too difficult. But over time, especially the maths degree and how they can confirm, you lose all the numbers and it just becomes letters. So computer science, awesome. Maths is getting harder as they go up the chain. But I still really love it, and I still enjoy my math classes just as much as my computer science classes.
True. Since you're a math major, I'm gonna make this math joke, which is You think calculus is easy when you are doing A levels and stuff, but then you take advanced calculus and then do all of those proven stuff, and it's like math is on a huge different level. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you have taken advanced calc, but it's crazy.
I've taken a couple of calc classes. Lastly, took what do you call it? The abstract algebra class, and there were no numbers in it at all.
I imagine so. Yeah, math is interesting, but it really pushes you how to think critically, and I
Mhm.
think that really helps you in software engineering, right?
Yeah. A small detour. I think my math major does help me interview better, and I'll get to that later.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I can relate. Like everything you said, I can 100% relate, which is one of the core reasons why I think I like computer science is because computer science is a subset of math. And I was good at math. I was always good. I was always really, really passionate about math. So yeah, I can always relate to what you're saying. But one more question is, so did you have programming experience when you first came to the US? If not, what was your schedule like? How did you study, not knowing programming
Mhm.
and balancing your part-time jobs, extracurriculars,
Mhm.
and things along those lines?
Okay, so that's a bit more about my college journey. Um, so in high school, I did not have too much programming experience. Like I had O-level computer science, and then they teach you like algorithmic thinking and some Python. So I had that, but it wasn't like college level uh, programming. As soon as I got to college here, though, I really started to learn more through my courses and just spending some more time alone, working on learning new technologies and new languages. Um, I think my classes really helped me. And I think I can give a brief overview of my classes. The first year is mostly like intro programming classes, and then you take like um, the computer systems classes, computer architecture classes, software systems classes, some network classes, some operating system classes, and discrete math. Um, and you learn a lot through the college uh, computer science classes because they really, especially in the US, they really force you to learn a lot. You have homework and assignments every single week, at least, if not every single day. And it really, really forces you to learn by doing it yourself. So that's super, super helpful. Besides my classes, I'm also heavily involved in research. Um, and I've been involved in research since my freshman year here. I've done some academic research in autonomous vehicles and machine learning, and then food safety and machine learning, and looking forward to breaking into astrophysics and machine learning. And I think these new domains, combined with uh, more and more programming experiences, has made me a better software engineer in general. Apart from research and courses, uh, the most important, most essential factor for me personally are likely hackathons. I've been to uh, quite a lot of hackathons since my freshman year, and um, every single weekend, I used to play around with new technologies, new languages, new frameworks, and it really, really helped me grow as a developer and become more confident in my coding abilities. And a quick rundown for anybody who hasn't been to a hackathon, they are 24 to 36-hour events that happen over the weekend in different colleges. You go there and you have a team of, say, 4, 5 students, and then you have a couple of challenges that you complete as a team. And the end of those 24-hour session, you submit your project for judging. And more often than not, you'll be surprised. You will likely win.
Yeah, yeah,
They're super,
definitely.
super fun.
Definitely, I can see that you won quite a bit. That's impressive. So how did that happen? How did you go about winning? Like, is there any strategy you want to share? And did you go with new people all the time, or did you have a team?
So I think most of my team wins are because of my cool team members. But I've hacked with a lot of people. Some people I've known previously. I think majority, mostly I have hacked with people I did not. Um, the idea is to meet new people and to form amazing teams and amazing ideas. Um, and making sure that you are able to demo it in like 24 hours. Um, for any hackathon, the idea is pick a problem that matters to you, come up with a solution with your team, and then make sure you get to the end of the solution within 24 hours. And I think the trick to winning all hackathons is just staying in constant communication with the sponsors of the hackathon. Um, you will notice just by talking to the sponsors what they're expecting and what you're building. And the more it aligns with your sponsor's view, the more in line you are to win the hackathon.
That is really really insightful. I would not have known that. So one more question for you, since you're saying you like hackathons, you liked communicating with the sponsors, and it helped you to win hackathons. And we all know that hackathons are very similar to like a startup. So do you have any envision, or do you envision yourself doing startups in the future, or do you want to go more down the research route?
I've been to a lot of hackathons, and I've been thinking about startups. I recently just, I think, saw a cool news stat that a lot of meta engineers actually do YC. Like I was looking at the stats, and meta engineers are like right after Stanford students. So there's that. Um, and I really do want to do a startup, but likely not at this stage of my career. I likely want to gather more experience right now. Then maybe through industry, maybe through more hackathons, or even maybe through research. My idea is to get as much experience as possible, and then find that one thing that really, really matters to me, and then create my own company based on that. Actually, that's the vision.
No, that is good. That is really, really good, because I feel like for example, for you, you're gonna end up going to Meta, and life is there, amazing, right? Free food, everything, really nice pay, and everything is
Great.
really good.
It's great.
Yeah, everything is really good, and then you go do a startup, which is really, really hard. Why would you do that if you are not finding something that's important enough for you to be able to leave that life behind? Because it definitely gets to you. Like I have been there, I've seen it. It is hard leaving behind that life. So my second question for you is, so you did share that you are doing research right now. So do you have any plans to do masters, PhD, or do you want to stick with industry, find something passionate or something that gives you purpose, and do like a company?
I do want to keep all my options open for now, which is why I was looking into both research and industry positions when I was searching for internships for last summer. Um, Research I want to do because in research you're more flexibility in choosing the problem statement. So it's more likely that if you really, really care about a problem, you are allowed to research on it on your own, uh, obviously from supervision from your professors. In industry, you are restricted to the projects. You have some flexibility on choosing what project you want to do, but at the end of the day, you're still restricted by what the available projects are or what the company is aligned in doing. So there is that. Pros and cons to both. Right now, uh, in my senior year right now, and I do want to keep all my options open. Uh, and but I'm still exploring both.
Nice. So you're not turning down the opportunity to like apply to the master's program, I see.
I will likely be applying to a couple of graduate programs, including PhD programs. And if a program really, really aligns with my vision, I might consider joining it.
Nice, nice, nice. Sounds like a path I might have followed. That's really good. That's really good. Impressive. But let's assume you get into Stanford. Would you consider Stanford versus going to Meta?
That is a very difficult question. My recruiter would not like to hear the answer.
We'll cut this. Don't worry about it.
No, it's fine. It's a joke. I know Stanford is a great school. I've been to Stanford 3 times now. They have an amazing campus, and I've also spoken to a couple of faculty. Super impressive. Um, if I do get into like a master's program at Stanford, I'll likely end up like differing maybe a year or two, or maybe taking like a break from my job, then getting back. Something along that lines. But yeah,
Nice.
they're really really cool.
Nice, nice, nice. Just a spoiler alert, which is Stanford probably does won't differ. Just a spoiler alert, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think you have a very solid plan. That's pretty good. So one more question to you is, uh, do you think your hacker experience helped you to get a job at Meta? Like, do you think
Mhm.
do you think it helped you to understand, like, do you wanna uh, go to industry versus pursue a graduate school? Um, and the other question that I want to ask you, do you like, did those recruiters come to your job fair, or you had to like find those recruiters from other places?
Okay. So great question, by the way. About hackathons, I think I've gotten a couple of interviews out of hackathons. I spoke to like a lot of recruiters on hackathons. So let me just quickly go over a brief rundown of the hackathons I've been to. My first hackathon actually was, I believe, in 2021, freshman year, I think. It was Hack MIT, and it was a bonkers. It was a great hackathon. There were like 1,000 hackers, and there were like really cool companies there, including Meta, which I think I did not get the chance to talk to them back then, but I did talk to a couple of other companies there. Um, for example, InterSystems. They are a Boston-based health company, and I was able to get an interview at least from Hackathon. So it is possible to get interviews from Hackathon. My next hackathon, I believe, was Shell Hacks in Florida, and they also had a lot of sponsors, including I believe Google, Microsoft, um, and a couple of other companies like Assure, and I believe also Amazon. So it is really cool to see all these sponsors in hackathon areas, and you can actually interact with them. Um, because you're just cold applying to jobs, and it's not always possible to have like a face to face with recruiters. It's really cool to go to hackathons so you can have like a face to face conversation with recruiters. There's that. After that, I believe I went to NHAX in University of Michigan, and that was also a cool hackathon. It's the same. It was pretty much the same sponsors in Michigan as my university, Michigan State University. Um, we usually have Ford, General Motors there. Again, very cool to talk to these companies. Um, After that, I also went to a hackathon in California. Actually, went to the UC Berkeley hackathon. It's called GalHack last year, and they had, I think, the most competitive hackathon I've been to. I believe I believe Boston Dynamics itself bought the Boston Dynamics dog. It's called Spot, and they brought it to the hackathon so the teams could actually code on it. And I think that was the coolest thing I've ever seen at a hackathon. There are also cool things going on in Berkeley. I noticed a lot of startups hiring as well. Um, so there's that. If you want to get a job at the startup, even hackathons is still a great idea. Um, yeah, I think that it covers like essential hackathons. But apart from going to hackathons, I've also organized hackathons at my university. Freshman year, I was in the lead for sponsorships for hackathons. I got to talk to a lot of companies, and I've made a lot of recruiter connections as well just by talking about my hackathon and wanting them to sponsor us. Sophomore year, I was lucky to be directing my own hackathon here at Michigan State. So that was super cool again. And then junior and senior year, I'm advising the hackathon committee here.
Amazing. It seems like you have a pretty, your experiences are very much embedded into the hackathon culture. That's very, very good
Mhm.
to see. Another question I want to ask is, how was the transitioning from or transition from hacker to like an organizer? Like, was this something you wanted to do, or was it like a luck by chance, or was it like something? Yeah, like how did that play out?
I think I wanted to be an organizer because I wanted to make more friends on campus. I remember my freshman year, I did not know like a whole bunch of people, and I thought, what better than the people trying to organize a hackathon? And I was right. I met some of my closest friends through organizing this hackathon. It's called Sparta Hack. We have around 700, 800 people coming in from like 30 universities every year. Super cool hackathon. Really, really love uh, organizing it. And I met some of the best hackers from like all of the country come in, and just talking to them and making sure that they have the most amazing place to hack. That's just amazing. That's just that's just what I want to do. Why I've been volunteering so much of my time towards organizing hackathons. And
Amazing.
also, before we move on, I do want to say that Adib was the person who introduced me to hackathons. I remember before applying to college in the States, I asked Adib what I should be doing, and he recommended that I do as many hackathons as I can. And thank you, Adib. Thank you, Adib. That really changed my trajectory.
You're welcome, and glad to see that it's being such a beneficial thing for you. It's really, really glad to see, and like crazy that you went and you did such impressive stuff even from your first semester. That's really, really impressive. Like nothing to say the least, but it's really, really impressive. Hack MIT in your first semester, doing well. That's crazy. Very impressive stuff. But what would you say? Like, do you think even beyond like your coding skills, do you think your involvement with organizing hackathon and being an organizer helped you with your leadership abilities, and that kind of helped you with your job, or do you think that was just like not a good way, like use of your time?
I think it was the most excellent use of my time. Two reasons. Firstly, when you go to hackathons, you're forced to work with new people who may not have the same domain expertise as you. It's super important to communicate and work together as a team. And if you do it every weekend, then your skills are definitely going to improve, ramp up as soon as possible. So there's the first one. The second one is communication and your speaking abilities get much, much better. In your job, you're expected to present problems, present solutions as soon as they come to your mind, as soon as you are able to. And if you go to more hackathons, then you are able to practice those presentation skills. Before organizing this hackathon here, my freshman year at Michigan State, I did not speak to a crowd of say 600 people before. So that was at first slightly unnerving, but I think over time I got more and more comfortable. And it is an essential life skill to have. So there's that. Also, bonus about hackathons. If you want free food, free great food, you should definitely do hackathons. I remember going to Hack Harvard as well, and they had like a buffet going on. It was the best food.
Yeah, definitely. And then one bonus tip is some hackathons pay for your flights. It's a great way to visit some cities without
Yeah,
paying for
yeah,
the flights yourself.
yeah. Um, Disclaimer about that. I think hackathons are doing that less and less nowadays. I feel like my freshman year, a lot of people were like paying for me to travel there. I think that culture is declining, is what I want to say.
Got it, got it. Then it makes much even more impressive that you are taking out your own money to go for to these events because you see such a value in these sort of events, in this sort of programming competition. That's really, really impressive, and that's really good to see. Because a lot of people, like even if you give them, let's say, like a plane ticket and things along those lines, they think it's a waste of their time. But it really is good to see how someone was able to substantially benefit from hackathon, and it makes it too, right? Because in my case, I also got substantial benefit from this event. So really, really great to see. Changing gears, what would you say was your journey like from, let's say, like your first year at Michigan State to getting that job at Meta, and what would you say was the interview process like?
Okay, okay. Um, so I'll talk a bit more about my experiences. You already covered most of the hackathons. Trust me, I have a lot more to talk about hackathons, but we'll get to that later. One other super important aspect I was involved in was research since my freshman year. Um, so my first week on campus, I started doing research with a professor in the Department of Computer Science doing autonomous vehicles. And I've been continuing that from freshman year till now. There's that. From sophomore year, I was also doing research in the food AI department. It's in the biosystems department. Um, Super cool project I've been involved with. Also continuing that right now. So I think over the course of my college career up until now, I've been managing to hold two research positions, as well as going to hackathons. And I think that has given me uh, a lot more experience in a lot of different domains compared to my other peers. For example, the autonomous vehicles or biosystems or astrophysics. And I also have domain knowledge relating to these areas in addition to computer science. And I think that makes me a very competitive candidate for any job. So there's the research. I also took up teaching my sophomore year. I was teaching the intro programming classes, and then moved on to the second intro programming class. But teaching was super fun. It pushed me to be able to mentor other people. And I think that's another super essential skill that companies are definitely looking for. Like to mentor and to be mentored, these are the essential skills that recruiters are definitely looking for. So research, teaching, hackathons, I think that was most of my experience with freshman, sophomore, and junior years. And I think because of all these experiences, um, when I applied to Meta, I was able to secure an interview without like a referral or anything. Um, Apart from that, I think I also focused. I did well. I took a lot of courses and did well on those courses. I tried to take as many computer science courses as my program would allow me to, and I was always slightly ahead of the curve, taking more and more classes, more senior classes, as soon as possible. So I was learning a lot more as well. And yeah, I think I do consider myself lucky that a recruiter noticed my resume and called me for an interview. Um, so that was getting the interview, and then we're gonna talk more about the interview itself. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to share a little bit for the audience. I think he's being humble, but I think his checklist is like really, really good. Like if I'm saying from the other side, someone who has a few years in big tech, like it checks all the box. Like for example, you did teaching that shows communication skills, your domain expertise. Then you did hackathon. You won a lot of hackathons, and you participated in a hackathon that was not in your university. That shows a lot of determination. It shows that he is obviously good, otherwise you wouldn't win something. And on top of this, he's doing a lot of different endeavors that shows a lot of resourcefulness, efficient use of time. And I think that's what classifies as hardworking, because a lot of people, what they do is like they just write hardworking on the resume, but it's not backed up with claims. So what he's doing from the other side is he's basically saying I am hardworking without explicitly saying I'm hardworking. It's through action. So he's being humble, but I just want to add that's really, really impressive. And that's a really good way of actually getting into Meta. Like you can say referrals and a lot of things, but once you do the work, like it's not just Meta. You can go anywhere where you want. It's the world becomes your oyster. And I think he's embodiment of that. Like you worked hard, put in the hours, and you're getting benefited. So really, really impressive. And in general, great work, Arham. That's really, really impressive. So
thank you, Aldo.
no worries, no worries. So one more question I want to ask you is just talk about the interview process. Like, what was the process like? How did you prepare and things along those lines?
Okay. So let's start with applying to companies. Um, so I was applying. I think beginning of junior year, I was applying to a lot of companies in Michigan. I was getting a couple of interviews. I think nothing super impressive. And then I spoke to a friend, and then he recommended that I only apply to companies that I really want to work. And I think that really changed my perspective on applying to companies. So after that, I only started applying to companies that aligned with my vision. So I was mostly applying to companies that are software based and mostly run by engineers. Um, so I looked up these kind of companies by valuation, and then started applying from the top. And I think I went through a couple of hundred applications before I was getting like a couple of interviews. Meta was one of the first interviews I got uh, off of that big list. Um, so my first email, that was the recruiter reached out and asked me to take an online
The recruiter
assessment.
reached out to you.
Yeah. Recruiter reached out, asked me to take an online assessment. I seriously probably did not believe it. But then I looked at the email, looked legit, took the online assessment. I think a week later, it was 4 programming questions. Um, they were not too hard, mostly basics of programming. Um, I would say lead code easy to lead code mediums. I was able to do well on the online assessment. Um, I think for the online assessment, it was mostly just, are you able to pass these test cases or not? So luckily for me, I was able to pass all the test cases, except for I believe one small tiny edge case I was not able to figure out. Anyways, I was slightly nervous about it that I did not get everything right. So I emailed my recruiter like immediately. I was like, "Hey, I knew how to think of this edge case. I just did not um, think of it right there." Anyways, recruiter, I believe, saw my performance on the online assessment and then asked me to take like an active technical interview with engineers. I scheduled that 2 weeks later. Before I get to the technical interviews, I later learned I could have actually skipped the online assessment. A lot of the interns were able to actually just skip it. If you just tell your recruiter that you're super confident that you can take technical interviews, it is possible to skip the online assessment. I believe a lot of companies do that. Um, okay, that's the online assessment part. And then came the technical interviews. These are the real interviews. You sit down with a meta engineer, and it's mostly 45 to 50 minutes of solving 2 programming questions. So I had 2 technical interviews, so it was a total of 4 questions. I believe I did extremely well on both of my technical interviews, and I believe my interviews are super impressed by the performance. About the technical interviews themselves, uh, I think they're mostly judged on how you approach the problem and the edge cases you can think of, or simply how you explain the solution rather than getting it like 100% correct as code. Um, so I believe I did well on them. I was able to complete all 4 questions within the time limit, and I was able to explain my thought process and optimize the solutions as well. So that went really good. Um, about the difficulty of the question, I would say they're in the lead code medium range. Um, Before my interview, I was doing like tons of lead codes. I believe I burned through like 200 lead code questions in like 2 weeks. Um, Luckily for me, my a lot of my friends had been through the big tech process, so they could help me unblock myself whenever I got lost by a lead code question. So there's that. Did well in the technical interviews, and then I believe there was one other assessment. It was mostly like a behavioral assessment, but it wasn't like an interview. It was more, I believe, just a couple of questions. It was just like a form, a couple of questions. There was that. I believe everything went super smoothly up until that point, and a week later on a Friday, I got a call from a Bay Area number, and then I instantly knew that I had the offer for an internship, and that was really cool. Fun fact about my interviews: they asked me. There was this one problem where I got the solution correct, and my interviewer asked me to optimize the solution, and he gave me a hint that I should sort this, but I should sort this in linear time. And my first reaction was, no way. If I could solve this in linear time, that would be insane. Um, Anyways, I later learned that to the problem statement, the list that was given to me were actually already sorted. There was that. It was fun interaction I had. But yeah, that's mostly my interviewing experience.
Nice. So, one more question for you. So, do you would you say like your interview was like 2 hours, 1 hour each, and each hour was like 2 lead code questions?
Yes, I believe there were 45 to 50 minutes ish, and 2 legal questions per interview, and then 2 technical interviews. Yep.
Sounds good. So, one more question. We are running towards the very end. So, one more question I want to ask you. That is, so you did say like the recruiter reached out to you. Was it after a hackathon or was it like random?
Um, it could have it could have been a hackathon because I did give out my resumes to a lot of recruiters, so it might have been passed around. There is that. I also lost a bunch of resumes. I don't know, maybe somebody picked it up. There's that. I do have a decent LinkedIn presence. It could have been that. I was applying to a lot of jobs. It could have been that. So there's a lot of if factors, and I cannot nail it down to how, but I think it's a combination of all the experiences and something lucky just went right.
I don't think it's luck. I will just tell the guys because he's been humble. We definitely has a very strong LinkedIn. Because once you have a strong LinkedIn, that's the reason I tell pretty much everyone I have a very good social media presence, and even though I have a very optimized version of LinkedIn, because recruiters do a lot of searches, and if you are doing well, you have a very good resume and a very good LinkedIn. You basically show up, and that's how you get a lot of assessments. That's kind of like a lot of things that happen with me, and I think he's being humble, but he definitely have a very solid LinkedIn profile. So that's really really impressive that people even without referrals cannot get interviews, and you were able to get them straight out of that. That's really impressive and shows like how hard you worked throughout your entire school years. That's really really impressive, Arham. So one more question. I know I said the last question was the last one, but it's basically like if you need to give yourself suggestions, if you could go back in time and do something, what would you do? And if you have to mentor, let's assume you're mentoring someone who's just going to start university soon, what would you advise them to do and whatnot?
For somebody starting university, I think my only advice would be um, ask for help. Ask for help. I believe uh, all throughout my high school and mostly when I was also starting college, I used to think that I could totally do this alone. And I soon realized that it's actually not possible. You can do good things alone, but if you want to do great things, you should probably always have uh, amazing uh, mentors. You should constantly be asking yourself for help. Um, One of the core philosophies at Meta is do not yourself get blocked by anything. And if you're blocked by anything, get yourself unblocked as soon as possible by any task that is. And it is your responsibility to ask for help as soon as you know that you're stuck in a problem, so you're not wasting your time. I think it's super, super important skill to have. Um, so that's probably my biggest advice. And I think I wish I started doing this earlier. Right now, I think I'm more comfortable asking for help, even if it's with strangers, even if it's with people I haven't connected with. Just asking for help. The worst that can happen is a no. There's that, and I think a couple of other things. Focus on uh, the impact that your work is having. You could be doing great things, but if it's not translating to real world stuff, then it's really, really hard to convince somebody to hire you. When you're doing a hackathon, focus on the impact you're going to have through the project. What problem is it going to solve? Is it actually affecting the people? So there's that. Even in when you get an industry job, you have to focus on the future impact that you're going to have. There's that. What else? I think one very interesting thing about Meta itself. Uh, uh, Fun story. I think my first week at Meta, I did not know anything about the rating scale for engineers. And the rating scale is something along the lines of, oh, meets some expectations, meets most expectations, meets all expectations. And then there's exceeds expectations, greatly exceeds, and then redefines expectations. And um, most meta engineers or above 50, 60% of meta engineers are always exceeding or greatly exceeding expectations. So it's super important to be doing that extra bit. You go above and beyond for uh, a couple of things. Maybe you go to an extra hackathon to show initiative. Maybe you take up the international programming contest. Um, Maybe you're doing research, maybe you're doing teaching. It's important that you're exceeding expectations. It's not just classes, and the fact that you're a well-rounded character and you show initiative to go above and beyond. Even when you get a job, it's again super important to be um, doing more than what's expected at your level to get promoted. There's always that. And I believe recruiters are always looking out for, like, oh, did this person take an extra initiative? And
That is a
yeah,
great advice. No, that is a
that's the
great.
logic.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so these are some of the things I learned through my undergrad years and also through my internship at Meta. Um, I think I'll go over briefly about my internship at Meta as well. Um, it was a 12-week internship, and I was placed into an iOS team for Instagram. Um, Unluckily for me, I had zero iOS experience going in. I had no idea what Swift was. So I started learning a bit about Swift before I soon realized that Instagram was not using mostly Swift. It was Objective-C, um, which is like the precursor to Swift. And that's an even more difficult language to learn. Um, but um, I believe when I came across this sudden challenge that I had to learn a new programming language, I was not afraid to dig around and learn it as soon as possible. It was expected that interns write code during their first week, and I believe I did a really good job, like navigating a completely unfamiliar code base you've never seen before, in a language you've never seen before, and then being able to fix or do tasks in that code base within my first week was, I think, super impressive. So the advice I take out of this is just don't be afraid to try out the unknown. Most of the time, uh, as you explore more and more, you get more comfortable learning new stuff. So don't limit yourself to like one particular stack. Be open to learning any technologies that you want to. So that was my first experience, new code base, new language, but I think I soon got well adjusted to it. I had the greatest mentor, by the way. And over the next 11 weeks or so, I had around 3 projects, all relating to Instagram. Um, I worked on the friendly experiences team for Instagram, which deals with suggested users. So if you ever came across, say, suggested users on Instagram, that was my team, be it iOS, Android, or web. And my first projects related to suggested users on main feed and on stories. And my final project was a quote code secret feature, also for friending that you will likely be seeing very soon. Um, Apart from the 3 projects that I had to do, I took on an extra initiative, um, an extra project at the end uh, that went, I believe, above and beyond my intern level because it was a cross-team collaboration. And I was point of contact for my team. So I believe going above and beyond by taking an extra project, by going an extra mile, it really helped me secure that return offer. So yeah, definitely go that extra mile. Um, what else? It was a really fun experience. But yeah,
Definitely.
that's the brief rundown of my internship.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's what I usually tell to people. If you want to do better than the average, then you also have to work harder than the average. That's just the way the game of life works. So that's a very good insight. And thank you for sharing that. Do you have any last moment thoughts before we close off?
Um, yeah, I think a lot more people should be interested in joining Meta. It's an excellent company. Um, Going in, I had heard a lot of good things about it, but actually experiencing it for myself, I was truly amazed. Like I was working with the best engineers in the world, and they were mentoring me every single day. Like my manager, my direct manager, who's also an engineer, um, he shared his first week that he's going to devote as much time as possible to mentoring me, and he did. And throughout the 12 weeks, I was able to grow so much as an engineer. It's unbelievable. I was working across the stack, be it product, server, infrastructure, security, accessibility, privacy. I was working with engineers that were doing Android, iOS, server, web, um, And not only engineers, designers, content designers, products managers, data analysts, and it's a truly incredible, remarkable environment to be in. You like to be working with the most awesome people at the company. There's that, and the speed of Meta is kind of unbelievable. Like you would think a company of that size is not moving fast enough, but it is moving really, really fast. You are able to ship out products, test products as soon as possible. There are as few blockers as possible to getting you to ship code as soon as possible. So moving fast, big, big aspect of the meta culture. And the work-life balance, I would say, is also super, super amazing. Um, we mostly will likely not have to work past 6, unless you want to stay for the free dinner, in which case you definitely stay back. But again, amazing company to be working for, and I believe it is being headed by the right person as well. I was super lucky to have met Zuck, and he did share a lot of his advice. And one of the things from his advice, and I'm still trying to implement that on my life, is um, create fast feedback loops. This is what Meta does in general. They ship out products that are not perfect, get feedback as soon as possible to make them perfect. And it's an iterative cycle. It's happening every week. Instagram has a new version that's happening every week. And take that learning that just create fast feedback loops and apply that to your own life as well. Like ask people how you're doing, get feedback yourself. Um, During my internship, I made it a point to ask my manager and my teammates every week about how I was performing and how to do better. Uh, the moment they gave me feedback, I made sure to analyze it, and then correct it as soon as possible. And it's an iterative cycle, and I'm trying to incorporate that as much as possible into my own life as well. Um, get as much feedback as possible as soon as possible, so I can correct it. A lot of the times, I think before this internship, I was hesitant about asking about feedback being positive or negative. But at the end of the day, there is no positive or negative feedback. It's just feedback and how you act on it that really, really matters. So just go out and ask people, maybe your friends, maybe your professors, um, your mentors, or maybe your managers, and ask them for feedback as soon as possible and as frequently as possible. At the end of the day, it is still your responsibility to get as much feedback as possible. So I think that's also there, and it comes straight from Zuck. There is that.
It's crazy. That's a really great advice. That's crazy. Like you had such a good experience. And one more addition, if you end up working for Meta, you also get free food and everything, and the food tastes really good from what I've heard. So yeah, definitely advise working for Meta, Google, any big tech company. They're amazing. You will help you learn a lot and grow really, really fast, as well as get mentor like Arham was saying. So thank you so much, Arham, for sharing your experiences. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much for having me here. Again, I've known Ali for a while, and I'm super, super grateful for Ali's mentorship as well. Um, piggybacking off of my last thing I said, seek feedback, seek mentorship as soon as possible. And I was lucky that I sought out Ali before I came to college, and because of that, I learned about hackathons, and that's really changed my trajectory. Um, so yeah, there's that. Again, thank you so much for having me here.